Timothy was born on the other side of the river, in current state in Burma. He was born to a family of 10 children, little children, and he's born as a twin. We have his twin sister and him. He was brought to us when he was 1 day old. The father walked out with him directly after the birth. He was going to leave them to die in the jungle because he didn't want any more children. But the villagers pleaded with him to not let them die. Then they said, just give them to the foreigners. So they must have heard of us. So he walked with an aunt out of the jungle, crossed the river, and it was about a day's journey. Came in the evening. Maria was there. She tried to talk him out of it and realized that he was serious. But he didn't feel that their family would survive if they had 2 twin babies to take care of. They didn't even have rice for the next morning's breakfast. We were in America on furlough when they arrived when Maria took them. And 4 days later, we were due to come home. And Maria met us at the Chiang Mai airport, and she had the babies for us. And I noticed at once that they were yellow, and we took them immediately to the hospital. They were admitted in the intensive care for infants, newborns, and they kept them. We stayed there with them for about 2 weeks. And they had the doctor said they would not have survived because they had sepsis, they had infections of their umbilical cords, and they had to have blood transfusions. We noticed a hole in Timothy's back. It looked like a pore, very enlarged, and no one ever said anything about it, so I just figured it must be some kind of a birthmark, something I had never seen before. But later on, that same year, he was hospitalized again for suspected meningitis, and he spent a long time in the hospital again, and I figured no one said anything about it, so it must not be anything. And it was not until this last week that we noticed that something was not normal. We had to leave for a couple of days, and when we were gone, I received a phone call that said that the lady that was helping me while I was gone, that she had taken him up to Brenda for evaluation because he was so hot. I came back, and he was really not himself. He would not walk and play. He would not let us lift up his legs when we would change the diaper. It's like he was in pain, but we couldn't figure out where the pain was. He was just really fussy and he normally is a very smiley baby. It's not himself. I had him seen by a physician in Chiang Mai, and I had given him paracetamol. He seemed like he was doing much better, and he did some tests, couldn't find anything wrong, and I forgot to tell him about the stiffness in his lower extremity when we changed his diaper. The next morning we were heading home, or evening, we were heading home. We wanted to get home as soon as possible to the other children, and we stopped here in Tak for the night, and I changed his diaper before we went to bed, and I didn't have anything to wash him with, so I took him in the bathroom to rinse him off, and I saw this big bulging, swollen area on his back where this hole is from birth, that he had from birth. I told Paul we're going to the ER. So we rushed him to the ER, and he was admitted for suspected meningitis. And we've been here ever since. It's been about a week. After X-rays, CT scan, and so on, they've diagnosed him with spina bifida, which is a birth defect that he was born with, and that little hole in his back is one of the symptoms or indicators of that, which no one ever told us. We had no clue. We did not know anything about spina bifida. And we don't know the severity of it yet, except that there's infection there. And the doctor says that he needs neurosurgery to close that hole and get the nerve endings taken care of. So they say that he can get paralyzed. They believe that if it's not fixed, that he will continue to have infections, and it can affect his ability to, both for motor function and for mental development. So that's where we're heading next.
The biggest challenge that we face is the IV needles don't stay in place, and we're usually having to reinsert them at least once a day, and it's incredibly painful for him, and it's a bit of a challenge to as a parent watching your child suffer and you can't do anything about it, and it has to be done. It's hard.
So how does it make you feel to see something like that? It's kind of hard to watch. It's kind of hard to watch a little boy who's been fighting illness and problems since he was born. And to see him go through that kind of pain is a little bit difficult to watch, especially when you realize there's not a lot you can do for him.
Our hope for Timothy is that he grows into to be a worker for the Lord, and then enter in His kingdom. I mean, like any Christian parent, that's their hope for their children, to be part of God's kingdom and being part of His army.